Hello everyone, welcome back to Keeping It Real with Nick. Here we have Gerd Wengler. He's the president of Park Property Management and Corporation, former board chair of the Scarborough North Rotary Club, and also a pilot. So let's get things rolling. So Gerd, I know that you are president at Park Property Management and Corporation. How long has Park Property been in business, and what exactly does Park Property do?
Well, Park has been in business for about 60 years, so quite a long time from the early 1960s on. Some foreign investors from Germany decided to buy an apartment building in Toronto. And that first one was in Thorncliffe Park. And from then on, the company has grown through acquisitions. And lately we have built other buildings. And now we have about almost 9,000 apartments in 60 buildings or so. And so the purpose of the company is that we own apartment buildings, and we rent them to other people, and we collect the rent, and we maintain the buildings, and that's our business really.
Oh, and when in the 60s exactly when it started?
It was in the early 1960s. It was done by a gentleman from Germany, and that was very unusual because at the time Toronto was not the most important city in Canada. It was really Montreal. But he had the foresight to come to Toronto because he saw the potential of Toronto as basically the center of Canada. So that's when it started. I don't know exactly the year. I think it was 1961 or something.
Oh, okay. So, did you start your career at Park Property?
No, not at all. I've been with Park now for 18 years. I started in 2000, and I finished university in 1988. So there were a few years in between where I did completely different things before I started with Park.
What inspired you to become an engineer?
Yes, you're right. I'm an engineer. That's really my university training. I don't know. It's hard to say. It goes a long time back. I knew from when I was a very young person, like maybe even 10 years old or something, that I wanted to be an engineer. And specifically, I wanted to be a mining engineer. I'm from Germany originally. There's a lot of coal mining, especially in Germany, and part of my family came from that area. And I was totally fascinated with all the stuff you could see about the coal mines, the big head frames, and my parents would tell me that there would be hundreds and hundreds of kilometers of underground railroads and all these things. I was totally fascinated by that. And I guess from the way I am, I was always more interested in these kind of things. You know, I really like to play with Lego and construct big things and all these kind of things. So that's really, there was no other question. I mean, I knew all along I wanted to be an engineer.
So you like Lego when you were growing up?
Yes.
What kind of Lego did you like?
Well, you know what I liked the best was when they came out with the railroads. That was really cool. You know, I could lay out my own tracks, and had several locomotives, and I built some stuff for myself.
Yeah, the locomotives.
Yeah, that was really cool stuff. I really like this.
That reminds me of Back to the Future.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
yes.
They say that in there too.
Yeah.
What is the most rewarding part of your job at Park Property?
Well, Park Property has about 300 employees, and I'm the president. So I know pretty much all the people. I know what's going on. And I must say, let's say the second most rewarding thing is if you buy a new building, or even better so if you build a new building. We have built a big one on Isabella and Young Street, Blue and Young, and that's 25 stories, and that was super exciting and fun when that was finally done, and it's working well. But you were asking, of course, for the most rewarding thing, and the most rewarding thing is always, for me, has always been when you work with people, when you see the potential in one of our employees, maybe a younger person, and then you promote them, and then they work out, and that is the most fun, and being a mentor to the people, and they can always come to you with their question. You help them to become successful, and when that happens, that's the most rewarding thing for me.
Well, that's good. At least you're doing stuff that is doing more business like business.
Yes, no, that's true. Yeah, I mean, when you're in charge of the whole company, I mean, it's just about everyone else knows more about what they're doing than me.
Yeah.
I know only little bits and pieces of everything. That's very unique about my role, that I kind of know everything, but I know only little bits and pieces of everything. And so that comes with the job, and I enjoy that.
Is it frustrating sometimes?
Well, frustrating for me is, sometimes I'm very busy with new projects or some problems that we have to deal with or stuff like that. And then there's a few days when nothing like that happens. And I wouldn't say I'm bored, but then I have to go back and do the normal kind of stuff. And that's a little frustrating. And the other thing is, patience is not my biggest kind of virtue. So especially when we plan for a new project, a new building, it takes forever. It takes 2 years or so until we even have the permit, and that is very frustrating.
But was there any positive stuff in the positive side of it?
The positive side of the business?
Yes.
Yes. As I said, that's very good when I can help other people, and because of my unique role that I'm overseeing everything, sometimes when a group of people work very intensely on a certain project, sometimes, as the saying goes, they can't see the forest because of the trees, and they sometimes need somebody that has a new input and helps them make a decision. So that's also a lot of fun for me.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Good for sharing that, Gerd.
Mm-hmm.
I see from your bio that you are also a pilot, and I hear that you have your own plane.
That's right.
What sort of plane is it?
Well, I was always, exactly with my engineering stuff, I was always very interested in flying, and I could never really afford it. And then eventually when I came to Canada, I could afford it and started to fly. And then my wife and I, we bought our first plane, and now we have the third plane. And that one is a Cessna 182. It has 4 seats, so I can take 3 passengers. And it has 1 engine, and the wings it's a high-wing airplane. And it's a very, very good airplane for what we like to do. We like to go to places and for vacation or explore new places. And I can take a lot of stuff in the plane, and it's easy to fly and has long endurance. So it's just a perfect plane for us now.
What inspired you to start flying?
Well, what I like about flying is that you are totally responsible for what you're doing.
That's true.
Yeah, you really have to make good decisions. And the other thing that I find fascinating is when you take off and go flying, you have to eventually land the airplane. There's no excuse. You have to bring it to an end.
Yeah.
And that's not so many things in life where you're really forced to do the whole thing. You can always kind of say, no, I don't want any more or whatever. You walk away from it, but not with flying. Once you're up, you have to bring this to an end. And it's very fascinating for me. And I have all kind of licenses and ratings, and to talk to air traffic control and to go long distances and to make all the plannings and the wind and the weather and all this. it's absolutely fascinating for me, and my goal is to be as professional as possible. So I have done thousands and thousands of flights, and I think I never had the perfect flight, never. So, but I'm still looking for the perfect flight.
Well, that's good. That's the whole point of flying too.
That's right. Yes. Yeah.
Have you flown anywhere exciting in your plane?
Yes, indeed. I was privileged to do that. My wife, and the biggest adventure that we had, I mean, we have flown with our airplane a couple of times to Europe with our little airplane, which takes a long time. It was 3 days one way and 8 stops and stuff like that. But the most exciting thing that we have done is we have flown across Canada. Now that maybe doesn't sound so special, but we have flown south to north. We flew from the southernmost point in Canada, which is Point Pelee in Lake Erie, all the way up to the Canadian Forces Base Alert, which is only 400 miles from the North Pole. And to my knowledge, nobody has ever done this before. So that was a very long, a 2-year expedition. I had 3 fuel caches in the Arctic where we ordered, a year before we went there, we ordered drums of fuel, and then we went there, and a year later they were actually there. And that was very, very exciting.
Well, that's good for you. When you're flown over the North Pole, did you see Santa Claus?
Yeah, well, it was in the middle of the summer, and I guess Santa Claus had his time off then, so we didn't see anyone.
Oh, good. And has my mother been on your plane?
I'm doing, other than flying with me and my wife, and we always take the dog. I've flown for an organization that's called Hope Air. Mm-hmm. And what we do is, the whole concept about Hope Air is, we all are happy that we have a free healthcare system in Canada, but it only works if you can get to where your medical treatment takes place. Yeah. So if you live somewhere in the north, even in Sudbury, Sault Ste. Marie, or Kapuskasing in Ontario, further up north, and you have no way to get to Toronto or Ottawa or London or some place, or Hamilton, where the bigger specialized hospitals are. For example, you're a single mom and you live on welfare and you have a little baby. With a bus from Sault Ste. Marie, it takes 15 hours. And with my plane, it takes only 2 hours. So we fly financially needy Canadians for free to and from their center of medical treatment. And I have done this a lot with my plane, and I've taken young people and old people and all kind of different people all across Ontario into the Maritimes and even to the United States. That was one of the things I did. And the other thing I'm doing is I'm also flying animals. Yeah. So I've flown, I don't know, 30 owls or so. I don't think there's many people around that have flown so many owls. So the owls, for example, snowy owls that are in Toronto right now, they come here and some of them get injured. They have car accidents or they get trapped in a barn. And then they're being checked if they can fly, and they're being treated for the injuries, and eventually they can go back to their where they normally live, which is as far north as possible. And so I fly them then up north and release them. So that's the other thing. But I've also flown dogs that had to be rescued, and cats and all kind of things.
I understand that your passion for flying isn't limited to your own adventures. And with that, you also fly for charitable causes. Mm-hmm. Can you share who they are and what they are about?
Yeah, that I just talked about this at the previous question. That's Hope Air, and the other organization is called Pilots and Paws. Yeah. And in both cases, we try to help, the people. That's much more important. I would always do that first. Hope Air is a very good organization. People like me that have their own planes, that's only a small part. But we have last year we flew 15,000 Canadians to and from hospitals or the medical treatment. So it's a very, very important thing that we do. And I had great experiences. I had many people that had never been on an airplane before, and they were scared first. But then I always, I always find ways where it's not bumpy and everything is good. So that's Hope Air, as I had already answered. And then the other organization is called Pilots and Paws. So we fly animals. That's the thing. We sometimes fly other animals like sloth or little birds or turtles and all kind of different animals. But for me, it was mostly dogs and owls.
Oh, that's good. Were they well trained?
Well, with the owls, the thing is they should not be trained at all. They must see that we, the people, are really the enemy. They must fear us, and they should not get used to us. So they're in a dog cage, and it's all covered so that they don't see anything. And then when you release them, you just open it and they fly away, and hopefully never being seen again by us.
That's really interesting that animals can fly on your plane.
Yeah, that's right. It's I see that I fly as careful as possible and no much bumps, and I don't go very high because you just don't really know how this is on the animals. But I can tell you with the dogs, for example, that I fly, they seem to know somehow that they're being rescued, and I never had any problem. They are just very, very nice, and they kind of cuddle up to you, and they want you to scratch them. And we fly also, from northern indigenous areas where there's no vets available. And sometimes, there's so many little dogs are born and then they wouldn't survive the winter because there's no food and it's cold and they're kind of homeless. And so we fly lots of them here to the south for adoption. And that's really nice too. And even the mothers, the mother dogs, they seem to know that their little ones are being saved. And that's very rewarding too.
Well, that's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for sharing that. I also see that you are an active member and past chair of the Scarborough North Rotary Club. What does the Rotary Club do?
Well, the Rotary Club is a service club, one of many other similar clubs, Lions or Kinsmen and so on. And what I want to do, what we want to do is really give back to the community. We have, in Rotary especially, we have several what we call avenues of service. And one avenue is that we support the communities that we live in. In my case, that would be, I work there, close, I don't live there, but that would be Scarborough. Another avenue of service is international, where we support projects in Africa or Asia, typically, or South America. Another area is where we also, support kind of ourselves with interesting speakers and so on. So we meet once a week. And we have a good speaker, and then we collect money, and then we distribute the money to our community or to international projects. So it's a big part for me too. I was a board of the Rotary in Scarborough, but now I was just appointed in a board for kind of a Ontario-wide Rotary project.
What kind of speakers that come and talk?
Oh, it's just all kind of, very often people from charitable organizations that want to talk about their projects. Of course, they hope that we would give them money, but that's not really what they're there for. They just want to be known. Sometimes it's politicians. Mm-hmm. Rotary is politically, religiously, everything totally neutral, so we don't want to have real political discussions. But we have, councillors, city councillors come in and tell us what they think, and so on. Sometimes federal politicians. And sometimes we have just interesting stuff, like people that did a big trip. You know, I was a speaker a couple of times when we had the big flying trips and stuff like that. So it absolutely varies what we have there for speakers.
Well, that is really good to know. Thank you for sharing that, Gerd. Did you have any role models growing up, and what inspired you most about them?
Well, that's an interesting question. I must say that we have I was very lucky that I grew up in a great family. So I could probably say that my parents and also my grandparents were kind of role models. So we had a very good relationship, and I always admired them. But then, you know, I grew up in the 60s mostly. And the big thing on TV and everywhere was Westerns, of course. And so that's how we grew up with Westerns, you know. And I must say I was a big John Wayne fan, and the roles that John Wayne played, and that was kind of a bit of a role model for us, like this honest kind of person that would stand for real values and fight for it, and always be on the good side and fight the evil people and so on. So that's, I wouldn't say that John Wayne's roles were my role model, but it was kind of something like that.
Well, that's John Wayne. Wow, that's a very interesting name.
Yeah.
What did you learn from him?
Well, you know, it's these basic values: to be honest, you know, to support your friends, to be there for friends when they need help, to fight the good fight. And support the good people and all these kind of things. So basic values that when people live together, kind of.
And that is so true, because it is true.
Yes, it is indeed. Yeah.
If you were a superhero, who would you be and why?
Well, this is another interesting one, and. Well, you know, I had this question a while ago, and actually I asked my wife. She said, "What kind of superhero should I be? There's so many." Well, and she said something to me that's actually true. Very simple. I think I would be Superman.
Ah.
And one of the reasons
that's
is
a very popular superhero.
Yes, it's a very popular superhero. Is maybe the superhero that is best known. But you know what? He is the best flyer. Nobody can fly as well as Superman, I think. So that's very attractive to me. And of course, he has all these superpowers, also good for me. And he is always supporting also the good causes. He's fighting the evil criminals and so on. And that fits just with me just the same. So I think Superman would be the one.
What would be for your wife?
Ooh, for my wife. I mean, wife is she's a physiotherapist, and she is really, really out there in the community and helping people. I don't know what she would say for a superhero. Maybe she would say me, but I don't think so. I think she would pick somebody like what's her name, Florence Nightingale, or somebody like a nurse in the war that really helps other people. Like there's really wonderful people.
Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman in that case. Yeah, we're talking superheroes, of course. Maybe Wonder Woman. Yeah, although hard to see, but yeah. I think that's...
But that's good to know.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing.
Yes.
As a successful business person, what are your words of wisdom for young people everywhere?
Well, I always tell pretty much the same to young people, and that is, you know, really know what you want to do, and then kind of go that way. And it's tough. You have to work hard. You always have to work hard, but don't lose the goal out of your sight. And if you work hard enough and make the right decisions, there's a very good chance that you will reach your goals. You know, don't worry too much about monies. Just worry about that you're doing a good job, because money, for example, will usually come on its own. And in general terms, what I can tell to young people is very, very general. You know, be honest and try to do your best.
That is so true, and thank you for sharing. And thank you for being part of this video channel today. And thank you for coming on to Keeping It Real with Nick. And I wish you all the best in the near future.
Well, thank you very much, Nick. That was great. It was a very good experience for me. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, thank you for coming on today. And I want to say thank to you guys out there for watching. And please follow us at the Disability Channel website. And please subscribe on YouTube, us on YouTube, and on Twitter, and Facebook, and thanks for watching, and keep it real. Thank you so much.